What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
That's one thing that I'm always avoiding to do.
I'll do like the Bible verse of the day.
So for years and years I did that, and as a side note, my income increased 300%.
In the past, I used to do this for at least 1 hour.
First thing first, going to Instagram and start watching stories. And I believe that's the worst thing.
That's why I never reply to you guys.
Where'd you learn that?
The first thing I do in the morning is the last thing I do in the night. And it's always praying.
I know common sense sometimes is not so common.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
I will never gonna get any advice from someone that doesn't have what I want.
A lot of tomorrow is determined by the end of today.
It happened to me like 3 nights ago.
You're never gonna find someone who's gonna say, you know what? I'm very stupid.
And there's 3 rules. Pay attention, get excited, never quit. The first one, pay attention. Who the hell are you paying attention to?
Welcome back. Today we're gonna talk about a very important topic, and I'm gonna ask you first before I ask my partners, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? I'm pausing for 3 seconds to think about it. And then I want to ask you also, what's the last thing you do before you go to sleep? And, before you give me your answer, I want to ask my partner here, Mr. Monico Perez, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
In the morning, well, for sure, I definitely, I open up my phone and I'll do like the Bible verse of the day. It just kind of gets me, in a good frame of mind. Obviously, thinking of whatever, the verse is every day, then usually, go to the restroom, all that stuff, get some coffee.
We could have left that out.
Yeah. Definitely get...
Rewind every single detail.
He's answering
Oh,
honestly,
yeah. And then, definitely get some coffee and then, usually take the girls to school. If we have a meeting, sometimes because of our time zones, we have our meetings early in the morning, which is the evening for y'all.
So here is a question. First of all, do you think, for you, how important is the way you start the day?
Oh, yeah, it's super important.
And the second question that I want you to answer me is, did you ever change the way, did you ever notice that I don't want to start the day by doing this, I have to change this,
Right.
and by changing the way I'm waking up.
Let me jump in, because here's the thing, and I'm sure this is true of a lot of you that are watching right now. Most people don't live their life by design, they live it by default. So if you look at your phone, you go to your default settings. The phone comes the way it comes. And in reality, if you're living your life on default settings, I'll bet you anything, you don't do the same thing every morning. One day you do this, one day you do that, one day you do this, one day. In other words, it's not on purpose. It's not by design. And I promise you, the world's greatest athletes live by design. I remember reading Tiger Woods' routine when he was in the prime of his career. Every 15 minutes from the minute he woke up, he had a very strict, regimented schedule. Mm-hmm. That's how you become the #1 golfer probably in the history of mankind. So I'm just saying, I think it's important, if you get one thing out of this, that you should have a plan for what you're going to do first thing in the morning.
Yeah, like for me also, the other thing is, if I don't work out in the morning, then normally, then I just won't work out. So I've made that choice. That in the morning, where Mark is like, you're crazy for working out in the
You're
morning.
Done. I'm still sleeping by the time you're done working out.
Yeah, but that's just something that I've put it in my, my regimen that, if I don't work out, go for a walk, do something, then I don't get it, I don't get it done. So that's been a discipline of mine, that if I'm at home, if I'm on the road, no matter where I'm at, I've got to do that,
And I think many people that are watching us right now, they want to find out what we're doing, first thing we're doing, but also they want to find out what we used to do, which was not a good habit.
Oh, yeah.
And we replaced it.
Right.
So do you remember something that you used to do, any of you years ago, and then at some point you realized, I don't want to wake up with that kind of energy. So let me change it, let me replace it. Do you remember yourself at this point?
Well, one thing that definitely drives your energy, when I was living in Austin, that was a lot different, was drinking. you know.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause you
Early in the morning.
no, I'm saying at
He's
night.
talking about later.
At
That's a
night,
good point.
So now
though.
you wake up and your head's
Foggy,
you know, a little
yeah.
foggy, and you're like, and then especially if you've got kids, you know, like then that throws off into the mix, and then you could snap at them, which they don't know what you were doing,
Yeah.
or they don't know the effects of, you know, any of that. So now not only did you start your day wrong, but now you're starting their day in a negative, and now you send them off to school, which can, you know, I mean, it could throw for a whole spiraling of different things.
Well,
So
look,
that's one habit.
to be clear, all four of us drink.
Yes.
But it's, you know, I never knew this until maybe 6-7 years ago, that when you have like 2 or 3 drinks at night, you don't sleep well. You wake up, your sleep is interrupted, so you wake up in the morning and you're more tired. So again, I just know that if I'm going to have a couple of drinks, I'm probably not going to get a great night's sleep. So therefore, I certainly don't do it every night. But that's, for me, for years, I woke up and watched ESPN. That's
Yeah.
what I did. I watched Sports Center every morning, for the full Sports Center. So I knew everything that was going on with my teams, with the league. And it's like, I look at it now and go, well, what a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, and I know some people don't, I'm not saying you get up and dive into work right away by any
Yeah,
means,
no.
but to have a mindless hour every day of taking in information about what someone else is doing. The people on Sports Center, they're living their lives making millions of dollars, and I'm sitting there like a sheep watching it, you know what I mean? Like, and now I know that information. What's that going to do for me?
I feel the worst thing that I caught myself sometimes doing, and I know that majority of the people are doing nowadays, it's first thing first, going to Instagram and start watching stories. And I believe
Yeah.
that's
Right
the worst
away.
thing. I mean,
Yeah.
especially Sunday morning, you wake up early and everybody's still out, and you see and starting comparing your life. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a period of holidays right now, and
Yeah.
many people, they are waking up, going on social media, starting watching stories, and starting comparing your life to others. And then sometimes you get yourself feeling depressed because somebody else right now is in, I don't know, Bora Bora, and you are in your house.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing that I'm always avoiding to do.
Right, yeah.
Which in my mind that's useless,
Yeah.
but it's not dangerous. There are some other things that you may do which are dangerous. For example, you know, waking up and you have a situation to solve, right? And you know, life happens. So while you are sleeping, you don't know what may happen, right? So you may wake up with a negative email that you urgently need to solve or respond or get into that mindset of, you know, answering to whoever and whatever. So that's dangerous. I mean,
Yeah.
if the first thing you are doing while you wake up is getting into those
Well,
conversations.
Yeah, that's living a reactive lifestyle.
Exactly.
So you're not living on purpose. You're not doing what your number one priority is. You are now reacting. And
absolutely.
I read a book years ago called Never, and this was when email was new. It's like, don't never answer email in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a silly little book, but that one thing is like, so for me, first thing I do when I wake up, and I'll show you this, my alarms, it used to say get up. That's what my alarm said for years and years and years and years. Now it says read Bible.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and again, I don't want to get off too much on this, but I'm going to tell you, I learned years ago. I was a church-going person for years, but I was just going on Sundays and trying to be a good person. Then I had a spiritual mentor, a pastor, who taught me about putting God first. He had a book called, I forget the exact name, but God's Laws of First Things. And I started learning that tithing is really important, like giving the first 10% of your income, but not 10%, the first 10% before anything else. So for years and years I did that, and as a side note, my income increased 300% since probably a coincidence, but it's not a coincidence. But then as life went on, I heard another pastor doing a podcast, and he said, well, yeah, a lot of people, they tithe their money first, but what about your time? So like, to me, like of all the things, I'm a personal development coach and teacher, right? So what I used to do is I used to read my blue cards, which are now on my phone. And again, I have my goals here. So the first thing is I am an instrument for God to use as he sees fit for his greatest glory. This is now the second thing I do in the morning. I read my 12 goal cards, which if you come to our Breakthrough Live event, you'll get a chance to be able to do this. But before I do that, I read one chapter of the Bible. And it's first of all, it's amazing the mindset it puts me in. But secondly, for me, I'm honoring God. How many of us pray to God and we're asking him to bless what we do, but we're not honoring him first? So for me, that is that will never change till the day I die. Read a chapter in the Bible, learn, educate myself, then read my goal cards. Yeah. And then I take the kids to school. And then for me, just to finish it up, as soon as we drop the kids, I spend that first hour with my wife because I'm a workaholic and I'm going to work all day long, but I love my wife and we need to connect. You know what I mean? So that first hour, we like to drive around. We have a beautiful home in Dallas now, but we're going to get another home. And, we just go to neighborhoods that and we chat and we catch up on what's going on and everything. And then once 9 o'clock hits, it's time to dive in. I've always got something scheduled from 9 o'clock on to start the day and work.
Me personally, the first thing I do in the morning is the last thing I do in the night, and it's always praying. I mean, I no matter what happens.
The way you start the day is the way you finish the day. The way you start the day is the same way you finish the day.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, no matter what happens in the day, I always praying before sleeping because I just want to sleep in peace. I mean, I'm trying to take away all of the problems, all everything that happened, and just praying for me, for my friends, for my family. And in the morning, the same thing. I mean, going back to what you said, I mean, having emails and nowadays having a global business with people all over the world with different time zones. Most of the days when I wake up, I have so many messages on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And most of the messages are not going to be thankfully messages, are going to be problematic.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to pray in the morning to have power to go through the day.
Right.
And the second thing is goals, because that's how I keep myself accountant to how I'm gonna move on and having something specific to do.
Yeah, cool. Going back to what you were mentioning earlier about emails, I used to be that way, that as soon as I'd wake up, I'd check or I'd see an email, and then I'd be like, and then I'd start writing it, and then I'd send it, and then sometimes it was either a misinterpretation, but it was a reactive, okay, I'll tell you, this and that.
Especially if you do it before you're really awake.
Right.
Well, I don't know about you. I need a cup of coffee before my brain is actually...
And then now what I even do is I'll write an email, I'll save it in drafts if it's an important email. If it's answering a question, then I'll do it. But if it's something that, I'll put it in drafts, then I'll come back and read it.
Where'd you learn that?
That's why sometimes you never reply.
That's why I never reply to you guys.
It stays on draft.
Yeah. No, but then I'll go back and read it, and I'll be like either A, okay, maybe I should word some of the situation, or B, I really don't need to even send this. Like, it'll resolve itself, or
now we know.
misunderstanding or something. But yeah, I mean, in the mornings also the other thing that, I don't read the Bible, but sometimes in the U.S. they have different, channels where they'll show the different pastors. So there's one that I watch. I know exactly if I wake up at 5:30, I know exactly what channel he's on. If I wake up at 6, I know what channel he's on the other one. And that's one thing that I've
Who is it?
David Jeremiah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I've been listening to him. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, self-improving. I never used to think that I would wake up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. and do any of that stuff. Again, the other thing that that I used to do that's a negative, I guess, thing would be like when you eat a heavy meal late at night, which here in Europe, it's odd because people eat at night, like very
in
late.
Spain, the restaurants open at 10.
So in the U.S., you're not used to having dinner at 9 or 10 p.m. or even 11 p.m. Like, it's just but when you eat a big meal and then go right to bed, then that also you wake up, you can't sleep,
can't digest,
and then you wake up also in a weird mood as well.
So you've now talked about two things, which I think is really important, that the way a lot of tomorrow is determined by the end of today. You know what I mean? So again, for me, I know we talked about what's the one thing, but it can't be one thing. For me, there's 2 or 3 things I told you in the morning. And at night, you know what I mean? One of the things, because I used to not sleep well. It's not only how many hours you sleep, but you got to get into that deep sleep where your body can repair itself and you get restful sleep so you wake up with energy. And again, I used to do things by default. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I make a list of exactly what I'm going to do tomorrow. I make sure my schedule's set, and then I'm at peace. That's what I do. And then, again, I go back to the kids are asleep, so this is the quiet time. And my wife and I just get to chill out and talk a little bit, and then we'll turn on something we like on TV. I know some people are like, oh my God, you have to get rid of your TV. It's the electronic income reducer. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I love entertainment. And again, maybe that this is different than your mentor is telling you, but I love entertainment. And especially, I understand the kind of entertainment I do at night affects also the way I sleep.
I was going to
so
say,
if I'm going to watch,
like an intense,
if I'm going to watch
suspenseful-
like The Shining, you know what I mean, before I go to bed, that's going to affect my sleep. So a lot of times we'll watch comedies, and you know, like I love The Office, I love Friends, I love just Curb Your Enthusiasm. My wife and I will watch something we like together. Or I've been turning her on to all these movies. We watched The Jerk the other night. She'd never seen that. And I mean, I'm just going to bed laughing, and my wife can't watch more than 20 minutes of a show without falling asleep. So she loves to fall asleep in my arms while we're watching TV. But then before I go to bed, I know she's asleep. I try to pause it so I know where we're at for tomorrow's viewing. But then that's my time to pray before I go to bed, and then boom, I'm out. Like, relaxed, and everything's good to go.
It happened to me like 3 nights ago. Something happened, and I was feeling really weird, and I did the same thing. I mean, I just opened my mobile, I went on YouTube and looking for something funny to change my energy so I could feel like more.
Yeah, I'll do like Everyone Loves Raymond. That's my go-to
Is
at
it?
night. Yeah, Everybody Loves Raymond. I just watched that. It's a comedy.
It
like
should
a
be
show.
called Everyone Loves Monaco, because everyone does love you, dude. You know, you got that.
Yeah, so for me, first thing
But
I do,
the thing about Everyone Loves Raymond is no one loves Raymond. That's why that's an ironic title.
is that an old comedy? or-
Yeah.
Oh, it's a funny yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah, you remind me of my buddy Michael Konunis, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When when we were in road shows, you know, in the past, I stayed with him many times. And, you know, every single time he gets his laptop, when he's about to go to sleep, he gets his laptop, he puts volume as, you know, up as possible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
someone who is living in the next room at the hotel, he
Yeah.
could listen to
Yeah.
what he's watching.
I love being
He's-
next to someone like that.
Yeah, and he's watching comedies, but he's watching comedies like 25 years old, 35 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
and
it's
he's laughing
funnier, a
loud.
lot of it.
I mean, even if you don't understand what they are saying, you are laughing because you are hearing him laughing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's living it.
First thing I do when I wake up is reading my goals, my blue cards. And then I need 30 minutes for myself, you know, without having to interfere or interact with anybody and anything. And then I'm taking kids to school. If I'm in Cyprus, obviously, if I'm not in Cyprus, I'm going to, you know, working out and then start doing business. I do believe that there are things that you have to do, as I said before, and no matter what, you have to respond to emails, people, things are happening while you are sleeping, especially when you have an international business. But I try to have time with myself before I spend time with anybody else during the morning. I got to be, you know, honest. In the past, I used to do this for at least 1 hour before I do anything else. In nowadays, you know, with the kids and
It's harder to get that much
I
time.
do 30 minutes maximum, and then I get, you know, my fighter's uniform, my dad's uniform.
Yeah,
you know.
but it's so true, though. And I think, again, that's living by default or design, reactive or intentional. And it's like taking that time. I'm just telling you, I will not do a call before 9 a.m. I just won't do it because I know I'm not switched on before 9 a.m. I'm just not going to do it. So if someone wants to meet me beforehand, I go, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Like, I'm sorry, I will not do it because I'm like you, man. I've got to get my act together. I've got to wake up, get my shit together, get in the right frame of mind, because the worst thing for me to do is to start working when you're not mentally ready to start working.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, some of you are going to go, yes, what I do is I sleep until about 11 a.m. and then I get my mind right for 3 hours. And I start at 2 p.m. Yeah. We're not giving you a license to be lazy, because lazy people never get rich. Despite what the gurus tell you, again, I can't help get on the subject. So the other day, if you're working past 12 noon, you're doing it wrong. Because, yes, that's how Elon Musk got to where he's at. He never worked past noontime, you moron. That's such an idiotic thing to try to teach people. You got to listen, there's 3 rules. Pay attention, get excited, never quit. The first one, pay attention. Who the hell are you paying attention to? None of my mentors said you should get rich by not working or by barely working. So get up in the morning and go. You know what I mean? And again, go back to the Bible. God said work 6 days a week, 1 day off where you don't do any work. So I work 6 days a week, and there ain't no way I'm doing work on a Sunday. Just not going to happen.
Yeah, and by the way,
unless we're at a seminar.
Right. Yeah, by the way, I know common sense sometimes is not so common. So when I say I need 30 minutes for myself, this is what I do usually. But if something urgent, something very important happens, I know I got to adjust. So let me give you an example. It's not that if my mom is going to call me and is going to say, hey, I need you right now here. Your dad is having this, or I'm going to say, hey, mom, now is the time that I'm spending
30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So same with business, okay? If it's something urgent, if I see a call, if I have 25 missed calls from you, obviously I'm going to call you when I wake
Something's
up.
going on,
yeah,
right.
something is going on. It's not that, no, my mentor told me I need to spend 30 minutes with my, I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah.
But also something that I changed a lot of things in my life, especially after personal development. One thing that I'm doing, maybe it's the only thing that I remember doing every single night, the same since I was 3, 4, 5 years old, is praying to God before I go to sleep. And this is what my mother told me when I was, very young, and I'm passing the same tradition to my kids. So before I go to bed, we pray with my kids and my wife, and we say what we appreciate through the day, So thank you, God, for having food in our plates today, or this and that and this and that. And then I go to sleep, I read my blue cards again. So that's the last thing I do, kind of what George is doing, finish the day the way I started the day.
Yeah. And I've done that before, where you write, kind of what Mark was saying, where you write down everything you're doing the next day. I go through my phases of being blue and not being blue.
Those are the personality colors. If you don't know, go to marcussetta.com and take our personality test. But
that's what I'm
you
referring
went
to.
through your phase of not being blue. When was that?
It's not very often, but it does happen.
He's always blue.
But there's times where, for a week I'll do it, and then I'm like, well, I don't need to write stuff. I'll just remember it, and then I don't remember it. But no, I do. But it has a very calming effect, knowing outlined exactly what you're going to do the next day. I've got a call, this or that, things like that. And that's another thing that I've done in the past.
Yeah, it's important just to develop rituals. Again, living by design. This is, to your point, you're not going to do it the exact same way every single night. But if 80% of the time or 90% of the time you're doing it and it's the same thing, compounded efforts are everything. So if you do it the right way 3 nights out of 365, it's not going to work. But if you do it 320 nights out of 365, you just get into a groove and you make the numbers your friend.
To your point, and you mentioned before about mentors, right? So one thing that I hate and I believe we should do a podcast just for this, but one thing that I hate is to teach people to get what I don't have, right? So,
Right.
how many people are on YouTube today and they say, let me tell you what you need to do exactly when you wake up. So let me tell you what you need to do when you do what makes you happy. I mean,
Right.
don't do what doesn't make you happy because this guy told you to do it.
Oh,
I mean,
I love Robin Sharma, but the 4 a.m. club,
yeah, exactly.
no,
Some-
no.
Yeah, so, it's so easy today, you go grab a book, you read a book, you learn 10 quotes, and then you become a mentor, right?
Right. Oh,
So
everyone's.
Let me
yeah.
tell you, the motivational Monday quote. Let me tell you, the 5 seconds tip of the day, which I understand, but I will never gonna get any advice from someone that doesn't have what I want.
Well, that's
on how to get it.
Yeah, but that's the
It's so
problem with
stupid.
today. Everyone has the same platform. So how do you tell a real teacher mentor? I mean, gosh, I could tell you so many
Results.
stories.
That's my thing,
Yeah.
results. So they say, those phases of, you don't know what you don't know. Now you know what you don't know, right? Yeah. And then the third phase, which you know what you don't know when you start learning what you don't know, and the first phase that you just simply go because now it becomes an unconscious skill, right? Mm-hmm. So how I do believe that the most difficult phase is phase number 4, when you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know that you don't know how to make money. You don't know that you don't know how to play the piano. You don't know that you don't know how to do this and that. So how do I learn? How do I move from phase number 4 to phase number 3? How do I learn that I don't know? How do I learn that I don't own the skill? Because the truth is, most of the stupid people, they believe they are smart. The laziest people in the world, they will tell you about their work ethics. They don't say, I'm very lazy. You're never going to find someone who's going to say, you know what? I'm very stupid. They will say I'm smart. I'm a hard worker. So how do I know that I'm on phase number 4? Results. I mean, if you don't have the results, you don't know. I mean, can I teach you how to, have 6 packs if I don't have 6 packs?
No, I know exactly how here. Yeah. So that's the problem. And I'm going to finish up this episode by saying, why should you come to one of our events? Because you don't know what you don't know, to what you're saying. And I didn't know what I didn't know. If I had not gone to my first training event when my mentor 35 years ago, none of this would have happened. And it wasn't like I learned it all that weekend. That weekend opened the door to get me to realize, holy shit, do I not know a lot? You know what I mean? And then every event I went to, I learned more and more and more. And every book I read. And it's after a while, you get to this point where you feel like you know everything. But even then, you don't know anything compared to what's available. You know what I mean? Yeah. So again, it's a lifelong thing. Yeah, there's different levels of success and different levels of awareness. And our goal is to just take average people and get you in the game. And it's not just business. It's every aspect of your life. How many people, again, in this day and age, you take the surveys and people are depressed, they're unhappy, they're unfulfilled. There's a reason for that. And if you learn the right things, you can take control of your life and live the life God intended you for to live. But if you don't take control of your life, then you're just going to be a subject of whatever your bad habits are, living by design. Living by default instead of design. So again, man, we got to get people. We told you one thing today, 2 things: what we do first thing, what we do last thing. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to it, man. So
Yep. Make sure you leave what they do in the mornings and at
Yeah,
night. Put it in the comments.
yeah, put it in the comments. We want to definitely know, and we'll see you next week.